Motherhood, but not quite as we imagine. Thought-provoking, refreshing, straightforward, sometimes taboo, often seemingly ordinary, but always honest. Welcome to School for Mothers, opening conversations we all need to have, exploring ways in which you can be fulfilled as a woman, once a mother. Now here is your host, mother of 10, Danusha Melina Durban.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 22 of the School for Mothers podcast. I'm Danusha Melina Durban, your host, and the title for this week's episode is Might. And my guest is Emma Campbell. Emma is an author, speaker, mum of 4 and cancer survivor. Her book, All That Followed, A Story of Cancer Kids and the Fear of Leaving Too Soon, was published in 2018. I'm honestly so honoured to be joined by Emma today. But before we dive into that episode, I want to invite all my podcast listeners to the private School for Mothers Facebook group. If you're looking to join a community of ambitious women, all who have children, and big dreams too, then look no further. With over 700 plus engaged members across at least 36 countries, we uplift, celebrate and support one another. You can find us on Facebook by simply searching for the School for Mothers group. That's the School for Mothers group. Anyway, I won't keep you waiting any longer. Let's go ahead and dive into my conversation with Em. This week's episode is called Might for a very, very good reason. And I just want to read you, listeners, what might is and the way that we're using it. So, might as a noun is the power, energy, or intensity of which one is capable. So, strength, power, authority, or resources wielded by an individual or a group. And when I was thinking about today's incredible guest, I absolutely had to have the word might for her, because today's guest is Emma Campbell, and she's like this just remarkable powerhouse woman who I absolutely adore and really couldn't not have on the show. So hello, Em.
Hello, how are you?
Really good. Really, really good. How are you today?
I'm all right today. Today I've woken up feeling much brighter than I did, yesterday. Today's a good day. Today feels like a good day. A little bit all over the place at the moment, but today's a good day, and that's what we're going to go with.
Yeah, today's a good day. So let's go there. So not everybody will know your story or, in fact, have read your book, All That Followed, A Story of Cancer, Kids and the Fear of Leaving Too Soon, which, by the way, oh my goodness, what a beautiful book. Why don't you give us a bit of a background, bring us up to speed on maybe to the point of the book, and then we'll catch us up to present day a bit in a minute.
So I'm a mum of 4. Just like you, I've got triplets, and 9-year-old triplets and a 15-year-old son. So, well, up until the book, my, pre-cancer, I was an actor briefly and very unsuccessfully in my 20s. Very unsuccessfly. I've always wanted to write. I've always written and kind of, again, not really earned a living from it. I've had a lovely part-time job at a talent agency for years, which has been a lovely, lovely anchor for me. But alongside that, I've always been one of those people kind of trying to find their creative way, and writing was always that passion and dream for me. But I found kind of, when I had my eldest son, Jake, I actually got a flesh-eating bug when he was born. I kind of seem to attract health dramas into my life. Jake was born 15 years ago, and I developed a kind of, literally, if you look up flesh-eating bacteria, flesh-eating bugs, and you'll see horrendous images on YouTube. But my journey into motherhood was with quite a lot of drama. Kind of didn't know if I was going to make it. So my kind of 30s was spent as a mum, not really pursuing any real creative ambitions. And then a deep, deep, deep yearning for a second child took over when Jake was about 2.5. And it really did consume me for several years. And I would say that dominated a huge part of my life. It was a kind of, I'm sure so many of us know that feeling when your body in your womb. In my book, I almost describe it as my womb bullying me, this kind of overwhelming desire to complete the idea of my family.
Yes.
I think it's very personal for everyone. I think everyone has an idea of what their own family, that idea of completion, whether it's 1 child, 2, 3, 4. For me, it was 2.
Yes.
And so that really did consume me. I had several miscarriages. My relationship was pretty rocky. we were under quite a lot of stress. And then by a wonderful miracle, we embarked on one round of IVF and I discovered that I was pregnant with triplets. And I'm sure you better than anyone know that how that feels when you hear that news.
Yeah.
So that was an incredible kind of turn in our lives. It certainly upped the ante of our situation.
Before you go on a minute, tell me, you had this picture of 2 children. Yeah.
I did,
and then you
yeah.
suddenly doubled that, at least in the pregnancy.
Yeah, and it was an incredible shock. I've always been completely honest about that. You know, I grew up with one sibling. My partner at the time grew up with one sibling. That was kind of our idea of, 2 kids, family of 4. That was just what felt right for us. And we actually were told the IVF worked like a dream, one round, and we were told at 6 weeks that there were 2 heartbeats. And we kind of thought, well, twins. Okay, wow, twins. And, 8-week scan, 9-week scan, 12-week scan. Yep, twins. There's a boy. It looks like there's a boy and a girl. Okay, had a couple more scans after 12 weeks and then got to 20 weeks. And suddenly, we think there's a third one in there. And that really did it was a moment that I will never forget. It kind of felt like the universe tilted on its axis in that moment.
Well, it's particularly late, actually, isn't it?
It is very late. And I mean, it was, and I've never doubted for a moment that it was the most incredible gift and miracle. But
Yes.
I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel absolutely terrifying as well, because we weren't set up for that. Our life was quite, there were lots of challenges anyway. And if I'm honest, I think that desire for a baby kind of and the people that were around me at that time would agree, it overrode. It's amazing how you're able to push away the kind of the rational side, in terms of, the ups and downs of the relationship. Yeah. And it was all consuming. But
which one was the hidden one?
It just Theo. So my darling Theo. So we knew that we were told girl and a boy. So twin 1, twin 2, as you know, that's how they kind of on your notes, and then it became triplet 1, triplet 2, triplet 3. Ella and Louis were twin 1 and twin 2, and Theo, which actually means Theodore means gift from God. And it did feel like the most kind of apt name because he was the little hidden, gorgeous bundle who turned our lives upside down, but is the most incredible gift, And it was funny, I'll never forget the very, very grave moment. The consultant radiographer, obstetrician who was doing the scan, wiped the gel from my belly and sort of looked very grave and said, well, if this is, this changes everything. And if we'd known, we would have offered you a reduction. And of course he has to say that. That's part of his responsibility, but it just would never, ever in a million years have been something that we would have considered. And do you know the funny thing about Theo? So he really was the hidden little bubba. And in his early years, in those early months when he started to crawl and walk, he would always be the one kind of hidden in a nook somewhere, kind of under the table, around over the chair legs. And it's funny, not so much now, but I really remember clearly when he was a toddler that he would always be hiding. And
what position was he in to be hidden? I'm really curious about it.
I don't know, because I'm terrible at kind of remembering medical or kind of
the terms for it.
Where terms rather, but I don't know. But he felt. All I know is that I didn't breathe. I didn't take a full breath from about 16 weeks pregnant. It felt like he was very high up, and he must have been maybe like towards the back or something. And do you know the other amazing thing about Theo? So the 3 of them, they're not a kind of freckly, moly threesome. Theo, on his perfect little torso, has got what I call the triplet triangle. He's got 3 little moles, like freckles, on his abdomen.
Wow.
Which I just think is like, it's a little triangle. I just always say, look, you've got it's like a marking. And then Louis was born with a little, because they're so identical, they certainly were. And Louis was born with a little strawberry birthmark, which again felt like Mother Nature's way of saying, right, okay, that's
marking
Louis.
them, literally.
That's marking them, because honestly,
so many people have a real problem with identicals, don't they? Of actually, knowing who's who and painting their little fingernails and
painting their nails.
And then, of course, when they get older, they swap their clothes so that they mess you around. It's great fun. But I just wanted to stick with this because it is really unusual. Both of us know lots of multiple mothers, and to not discover a triplet until that stage is truly very unusual. So I
know, and I think in a way maybe that's the way it was meant to be, because we were already under quite a lot of strain and pressure. it kind of lessened it almost. Well, I don't know. It's a strange one. I wonder how we would have. Maybe we would have coped better. I don't know how we would have coped if we'd known from very early on. I don't know.
Well, it just wasn't meant to be, was it? You know,
Wasn't
Theo kept you from that. You know, and then things changed. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Things did change. So sadly, my relationship, we were struggling under the strain for lots of other reasons as well, and we kind of had verbally separated before the babies were born, but it wasn't until they were 6 months old, 5-6 months old, that we finally moved out. It was a very, very, very difficult time, and in a kind of light-hearted way, I kind of always used Jeremy Kyle, but it was a very, very difficult time with lots of dramas, which were distressing for everyone. But yeah, and then kind of the final blow was that I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So kind of a couple of weeks into single parenthood, I was told that I had a 5-centimetre tumour, lymph node involvement, and was about, needed to embark on everything they had, really. So yeah, I've kind of gone goose. As funny as I've told this story so many times, but as I'm telling you, my whole left side's gone all shivery and goosebumpy. But yeah, it was a kind of incredibly challenging time.
I mean, that's an understatement, isn't it? An incredibly challenging time. So there you are with 6-month-old triplets, single mum, Jake,
and the 6-year-old, my big boy, my lucky boy, Jake.
Beautiful boy, and with breast cancer.
Yeah.
How did you kind of be with that? Because I know your story has unfolded in various ways.
I know. I mean, I certainly feel like a different person now to the person I was then, but I think we could all say that about things we go through and how we change, But I know I was already on the floor, I was already kind of at a rock bottom, is how I felt. So physically, I was very fragile. I was, obviously sleep deprived. I've been running on immense stress and adrenaline for months and months and months, really. I mean, I remember my wonderful dad was saying, "You're going to get ill, my darling. You're going to get," that kind of drama. And then there's no blame or anything. But, my body was kind of in fight or flight mode for a long time. And obviously alongside the caring for the babies and the lack of sleep and expressing milk and everything. But I was in a very weak state physically, and mentally I wasn't in I was absolutely in survival mode. So it almost felt like that kind of, right, this is, of course, not in a, well, of course it's cancer, but it was almost like, I felt so beaten down already that it was almost like, I expected it, but I couldn't go any lower almost. Do you know? So maybe it was less of a shock than it might have been if I'd been living in a kind of very stable setup with a baby, with a night nanny and kind of, everything very stable and set up. But I was on the floor already in every way, really. And this was just like, and then of course the overriding, you just go into survival mode, and everything became very practical and everyone rallied round hugely, friends and family, and it just became about getting me through and getting this treatment done, getting me well, and enabling me to be mum. That's always been the thing for me. I just want to be mum,
Yeah.
But I was terrified. I was completely terrified. But I think, I'm waffling on, but I think I was terrified, but I didn't have the time to let that, because I was so incredibly busy every minute of the day. So I wasn't terrified and sort of staring into space and wrapped up in a duvet. I was terrified, but also feeding and changing nappies and doing the Asda shop and, getting, all those millions of practical things that every mother knows, But then also, unfortunately, dealing with a personal situation that had no closure. So, there was another ongoing sort of saga running alongside it,
Which ongoing?
On the relationships, on the kind of the fallout from the relationship breakdown was very, very difficult. So that took a long time to move up with, to leave behind.
So there you are with this incredible, why I almost talked over you there was because when you said, as every mother knows, but they don't know.
Yeah.
Having triplets.
No, I don't know.
Is an intensification of mothering like nothing else. Only a woman with quads or more would truly appreciate, would be able to know what that is like. Because having singletons of slightly different ages, even if they are 9 months apart or a year or whatever it is, isn't like having 3 babies of the same age. I can speak, as you know, as a fellow triplet mum, and it's the most remarkable.
It's mind-boggling, really, because I like you, I still look back now and think, well, I don't know how I did it. I don't know how I got through those sleep deprived, those months and months and months of feeding around the clock and getting out. I don't know, but somehow we did, and women do, and that is where our incredible strength comes from.
Yes, and it's a harrowing experience as much as it's a remarkable gift to be one of the chosen triplet, multiple mothers. Actually, the demands are just, I'm almost don't have words for it because it's still.
And I think that's what makes me sad. I think I still carry quite a lot of grief that I didn't enjoy it. And I feel sad. And I look back at the photos and they're beautiful and they're perfect. And I know how, physically there were very few issues. I know how blessed I am and they are in that respect. I look back at that time and it's painful almost to look at the photos because I know what a difficult time it was. And that makes me feel, I struggle a lot with parental guilt, mum guilt. It's a huge issue in my life, but that feeling of, they deserve to happen, it's a shame. I feel sad for them as well that they had a mum that was so consumed by other things, maybe didn't have the luxury of being able to hold two in an arm and, and one on my lap and gaze at them for hours. And it just wasn't like that, it was just.
But it's really easy to romanticize, what other people might be enjoying with their triplets or twins or singleton. I think it's a very common feeling that with multiple mums that they just haven't had the chance to sit. And then as we've also got singletons. I don't know that I really sat just staring at my singletons.
Yeah.
I do know what you're talking about when I look at a woman pushing a buggy and I think, wow, the contraptions, they're remarkable to transport triplets around. They're not easy.
Popping out for a pint of milk is a kind of an all-day event that takes huge planning and physical strength and energy and timing, and there's no such thing, is there, as popping to the shops?
No, there isn't. So
it just can't happen. Even now, it feels like that they're 9, and I'm kind of almost, I can leave them now with their big brother, but it's still. They say, "Mom, can we come and eat to Sainsbury's?" I'm like, "Oh, really?"
Well, there's a lot of them, and so not only did you have that incredible challenge, as much as it's a gift, frankly, it's more of a challenge in practicality.
Well, the other little thing I'll just add in, just to kind of, get the violins out, is that we were living in a top floor flat.
Oh, gosh, yes.
We were living in a flat with Victorian conversion top floor flat, and loads of stairs. And a very grubby communal hallway. So I would kind of bring one baby down, lie on a blanket, run up and get the other one, lie on a blanket, kicking the Domino's pizza leaflets out of the way and the, posts that had piled up. And and then you kind of bounce the big buggy down the other few stairs.
Well, I know a multiple mum who lived possibly still does live in a top floor flat, and would park the car outside. Now, her neighbour decided with, I'm sure, the best of intentions, to call children's services and complain that this single mother, as it happens, with triplets, was leaving children in the car. What the lovely lady didn't realise was, how do you literally take 3 children in your arms, all at the same time?
Yeah.
It actually is impossible. You can't do it. So you actually have to make a judgment call and go, right, I'll take one up, make that secure in a chair, back down, pick that one up, make that one secure. You can't do it. So even the misunderstanding about the realities of life. So the reason we've laboured this is that in itself is absolutely enormous. It's a gigantic endeavour to keep things stable and keep things safe and keep yourself afloat, actually. Add in cancer. Add in breast cancer and treatment and an unresolved relationship with all the emotional roller coaster that brings.
I know. But, I'm passionate, sort of more so as every day goes by. I always, I've got incredible fortune in my life, as well as the adversity that I feel like I've gone through. And I somehow seem to attract into my universe the most incredible people at the right time. And what absolutely, one of those, mainly women, I have to say, but lots of fantastic men. But the women that gathered around me and held me up physically and emotionally through that time I mean, it's just incredible and the greatest gift. And I was carried through in so many ways, you know, the kind of the well-worn cliched random acts of kindness, but there was barely a day that went by without beautiful big and small gestures and you know, in all sorts of ways, you know, funds being raised to help with childcare and, you know, an ex-employee that I worked for very, very briefly knocked on the door one afternoon with his wife and handed me a brown envelope, and there'd been a whip round in the office. I mean, I'd worked there for a matter of weeks because, you know, childcare was a huge financial issue, and managing and not draining family who were kind enough to help, not draining them dry, and being aware that this was quite a long-term situation of,
well, exactly,
you know, and kind of how do we manage this? And, you know, and so let alone the rota that was drawn up with the school mums of meals that were dropped off, lasagnas and bolognese and chicken pie, and getting home from chemo and the floor had been mopped, and by a friend that I hadn't seen for 5 years, and she didn't even stay around for me to thank her. You know, amazing things that got me through. And I mean, that in a way, a lovely way, when I look back at that time now, you know, I think of a lot of magic as well, you know. And in a way, it's like anything, isn't it? The pain often subsides and you're left with it's an incredible moment. And I feel incredibly grateful and lucky.
Yeah. So the strength of might, or your might, also involves receiving, doesn't it? There's a massive strength in being willing to surrender to needing help.
Yes. And I think you and I have talked about this in the past. That is something that I struggled with hugely. There's it brings up a lot of, when people give to you unconditionally, and it might be financial, it might be with their time. So I'm almost contradicting myself, because on one hand, I kind of welcomed in and I did learn to say yes, because I had to say yes. I said yes to most things. And I did learn to accept and receive, but I also struggled hugely with it. There were times where I felt real shame as well. I was fearful of other people. Do people think I'm scrounging? You know, all these, and I've got better at managing these voices, but kind of that little gremlin saying, well, look at you, you know, you wanted these babies and now you can't cope, and look, everyone's doing, you know, and it was maybe it was other people's voices, if I'm honest, things that had been said to me that were kind of echoing around in my head. But I did struggle with, certainly with the financial help. I felt a lot of shame and embarrassment, you know.
What did those voices say,
It's that I brought this situation on myself. This is horrible to even never dream of. Imagine saying this to a friend, or, you know, but the cruel way in which we speak to each other at times is heartbreaking. But the feeling of I'd made this, you know, in inverted commas, you've made this mess, you sort it out. And that had been said to me, you know, on many occasions by someone. And so I think then when wonderful people in my life, angels, genuine angels, kind of wanted to make things better for me and easier and support me, and that wasn't a financial way at times. It was something that I knew was coming from such a pure, wonderful place, and I know that I would do the same, but I struggled. I did feel a sense of shame. Not embarrassed, it felt guilt thing, I guess. And does that sound, you understand that? And I think they all tied into the yearning that I'd had for so many years. You know, and it all ties in with me. I mean, I could probably write another book on it's being done, I imagine, but on guilt and that feeling of I wanted baby so much, and then the fallout was so enormous and so shattering for lots of people. You know, I feel like there was a hell of a lot of fallout to this day that's still being played out, and then to feel that, well, I might not even be here for these babies. I might die. I might not. And they didn't ask for this. You know, it's kind of.
Well, there's a couple of things going on.
Yeah, I mean,
what I hear you talking about is an underlying deserving.
Yeah.
That you brought this on, but that your desires, your very, very primal yearning for this other child actually triggered. I mean, not only did it bring 3, but it actually triggered and activated life-changing shit.
But you know what? And I've written about this in the book. It's exactly that. I've always felt, I know I'm a powerful manifestor. I believe hugely in, you know, the power of my thoughts and that energy and vibration. I know that I can I manifest magic into my life. But this is the thing. My yearning was so strong and tangible. I remember one particular moment. I remember I remember looking up to the sky, and it was almost like I was challenging, and in the book I describe it, challenging the universe, God, the universe, the stars and the moon, you know, bring it on. It's like, bring it on. Just give me my one more baby and I'll deal with it. I can handle anything.
And you are.
And then look, it's almost like, yeah, you got your 3 babies and you've got a whole catalogue of challenges and so in a way, you know, but I think the guilt comes from feeling that, okay, that's one thing for me to have manifested that, but other people have been kind of not dragged on for the ride, but, you know, it's been a huge strain emotionally and in other ways on people who care about me, and they've had to kind of pick up the pieces in lots of ways, you know.
Mm. But I guess that those people that are close to you and those people that you've also, you know, got close on this first part of this journey that we're talking about, I mean, they've grown through, you talk about it like it's not a positive thing for them.
It is as well. I mean, I know that, I remember what, you know, in the school mums, you know, the amazing mums at the rota, and one of my many days of weeping and kind of over cups of tea and cake and kind of, ooh. And I remember one of them saying, you don't realise, you know, what an incredible community we live in. You've brought us together. We thought we were united as a group of women, but look what you've done. And that was another thing that was a lovely thing to do. And we were an incredible village. We don't live in a village, but that kind of village mentality. And, you know, I remember the day that I finally was able to move out of the flat, the top floor flat, into a rented house. It was between my first and second chemo. And I'd lived in that flat for 20 years. I had my childhood diaries on the walls. It was, you know, let alone all the life of the babies and Jake and my life there. And everyone, I don't think I packed a single box. I mean, there must have been 15, 20 people. You know, it must have been so many people involved in getting us from the flat to the house over a couple of while. And I remember coming back from chemo number 2, my hair was falling out. There were people I didn't even know, you know, in the new house. And I was in a daze. I mean, I was in a daze for so much of that time.
Yeah, I don't think you realise how much of a gift your journey is for other people, certainly in the actual time when it was happening. And possibly as we fast forward, it might be a thread, you know, I mean, so you found a new house. So you found a rented house.
Yes.
What was it like to be in a new place?
It was a dream. It was a little, I don't know if anyone's old enough to remember Brookside, but a little kind of new build, you know, little on a cul-de-sac. Small for, you know, the bedrooms were tiny, but it just was this, in my mind, it was this. We walked in, it was empty, no furniture, and it was clean and freshly painted, and it was an empty box. And that's what I remember, just bursting into tears with the kind of relief. And it was like, didn't matter that the rooms were tiny and that the triplets would have to share one very small room with no floor space around their cots. It just was a space with no, because it was the mental clutter as well. You know, one thing to have clutter, but, you know, it was my head was so full. And so just to be in this, it had to have a blank canvas, really. It very quickly filled up with all the usual stuff, but it was amazing. And again, the magic, I found myself in this little oasis of a cul-de-sac with the most incredible neighbours, you know, neighbours knocking on my door within a couple of days, offering me childcare, offering me, you can see that you're struggling, let's, you know, my teenage daughter would love to take the triplets for a walk. Okay, off you go, you know, homemade cakes and just this, and then the magic of Jake, you know, who'd was going through so much. Finding a beautiful 7-year-old boy, his age, his school year, and it was like something out of Enid Blyton for the next couple of years. You know, they were, and it was safe for him to play out. You know, going from a top floor flat with no garden suddenly,
amazing.
It was magical, and that was another, you know, very, very. It was a new beginning, but it was very much at the beginning of the treatment journey, and on a practical sense, it meant that, you know, we had a broken intercom at the flat, so I couldn't let people in without staggering downstairs. So we knew that. It just gave, there was an ease in terms of the comings and the goings that we knew were going to be taking place with people rallying around, you know.
And where are you going to take us next? What happened next? What was the big next thing for you?
The big next thing was, I think if we whiz through the next 4 years very quickly, I did brilliantly physically. My surgery, my treatment went very, very well. I was in remission with no sign of disease, and I recovered very, you know, young, strong, fit woman. I recovered well, and without going into it to take up too much time, but mentally, it was a much slower journey. The anxiety was crippling, and it did consume me. And I know everyone I've ever known who's faced a cancer diagnosis. It's a very common feeling. It's very hard to just pick up the pieces of your life. But, time went on, the triplets grew. Finally, when they were about 4 years old, finally the relationship with their father had reached there was a point where it was a line drawn under it without saying any more than that. So I kind of had that weight finally lifted off my shoulders.
Yes.
I thought, great, they started school. Jake started secondary school. And I was even starting to think a little bit about, maybe I might think of a little bit of dating. I'd never done internet dating before, but, I was starting to feel that I'd done it. I felt strong. I was in my 5th year. And then, you know what I'm going to say.
Yeah, well, you had your life back. There was a sense of hope, yeah?
Well, there was a huge sense of hope and potential and strength and new beginnings. And then I fell from a great, 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 great height. I found out that my cancer had returned. And it was beyond devastating.
Yeah.
I spent the last 4 years with that, fear in my mind of, if it comes back, that's it. If it comes back, it's all over. If it comes back, that's the beginning of the end. That's what I felt to be true. So when I found out my cancer had returned, to me, it was the darkest, darkest day.
And what was that like, that dark?
It was a feeling of the beginning of the end. That's the blackest day. It was kind of Black Friday, how there were lots of black days.
Yes.
But I referred to in the book, but it was because I'd been told I had a shadow on my lung.
Right, yeah.
Which actually turned out on that occasion, they then dismissed that. But on that day, I believed I had secondary lung cancer, as well as the skin. I can never say, I still can't say the I still cannot say the word, I still can't say it. You know the word I mean,
I do.
Spread. I think I should be able to say it if anyone can.
Is it metastasized?
Yes, I still cannot say that word. But it had appeared in my skin. So it was a localized sort of, but there was this shadow on the lung. So until we knew that was nothing, that wasn't cancer, I lived with that's what I've been told. So it was devastating, but alongside this, just exactly around this time when I was going for tests, when I'd been reassured on several occasions that things were fine, it wasn't a recurrence, I'd met somebody, and I was in the process. Well, we hadn't even physically met at that point, but there was someone that I'd connected with in the most magical way. So alongside feeling like my world was about to really end, I was falling in love. So, and that's with my lovely Dave. So it was an incredible time of extremes.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Again, actually, and I've never really thought of it like that, in that it's almost playing out again, that two ends of the spectrum of, if you think of the gift of triplets, cancer, the gift of a new love and potential cancer, second diagnosis. So I embarked on chemo alongside falling head over heels in love.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we shouldn't reveal every part of that story.
No, exactly. It's beautiful. It's beautiful in the book, and we don't want to spoil that. You're right. There's this playing out of death, potential birth, potential death, birth, death.
I'm not thought of it quite like that, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah, that kind of those extremes of
absolute extremes.
Yeah, life experience to hold the
contrast.
Yeah, contrast.
That's the word that I'm really, I kind of use a lot in terms of how I view life with law of attraction and kind of, the incredible contrast. And in a way, if you use that word rather than kind of try to use that word more than difficulties or challenges,
it's contrast.
Okay, this situation, it's contrast. Okay, and I'm going to try and shift it. But in that, I have to say at that time I wasn't as far on my journey of being able to work on my thoughts as much. I kind of was never quite able to walk the talk. So I was gripped with, absolutely gripped with fear again. But I guess the incredible feeling of also falling in love and having met an incredible man who proved himself from day one to be the most phenomenal rock and, have the most incredible decency running through him.
Yes.
So this time he was the one that held me, and obviously friends again and you and wonderful people rallied round. But he was, unlike last time where I had the friends, but I didn't have that one. This time round I had this partner.
You had your partner and a companion.
I had a partner, but from day one, he was a partner. I mean, within a week of us meeting, we were sitting in the chemo ward, and he was massaging my feet, and we were eating Maltesers, and I don't think I'd ever laughed as much as, and that's the other thing. I laughed more during that second time than I've ever had in my life, I think. But alongside the desperate, crippling fear, because I was a wreck as well. I mean, I'm not pretending in any way that I sailed through it. It was so much harder emotionally. It felt cruel. It felt even more cruel. Well, it felt as cruel, but cruel in a different, compared to first time round, the babies, Jake, and the idea of leaving them, the terror of leaving them, and then second time round, we've done it, we've got through. There's now love in my life. Oh my God, now, am I going to go now? Is this where it ends? But, that was 4 and a bit years ago.
So living with the unknown.
Yeah.
Because all through treatment, it's the unknown, isn't it?
It's hell. Yeah. And that's the most agonizing bit. And I think unlike other men, women going through a cancer experience, I don't make it easy for myself. I do not.
You are funny.
My fear has been so crippling that rather than choose to ask the questions, that classic thing, knowledge is power, I have chosen up until very, very recently to stick my fingers in my ears, and I've chosen to live with the fear, the crippling, paralyzing fear of not knowing the full picture.
Why would you do that to yourself, Em?
Because the number of times it's been said to me, Em, just pick up the phone. Why don't you just ask about that blood test? Why don't the no ID? Why don't you just ring the hospital and see? No, and I've put myself through. I've done it my whole life, and that's a whole other conversation. I'd almost rather live with the fear than face that hideous phone call or open that scary letter. Up until this day, I don't get letters sent to the house. I don't want to read letters from my oncologist. And I'm just learning at the moment, that I think possibly now I may have changed that finally. But we'll get to that. But it's.
Can I just say something that might be stating the bleeding obvious?
Yeah.
Isn't the universe going to keep giving you shit? Keep giving you trials and tribulations that are of immense magnitude until you realise what a bloody strong woman you are, that you actually have the strength to open letters, that you have the strength to pick up the phone and say, listen, what is that blood test for?
Yeah, I know. Do you know what? I've never even thought of it like that. Maybe that's something for me to go away with today. And it breaks my heart because I've put myself through utter unnecessary hell. And hours and days and weeks. And this is where the guilt, it breaks my heart where the guilt comes in, and I write about it a lot in that all the times through the baby's early years and Jake's, growing years of not being present, not being in the moment because my anxiety was so crippling that how can you parent? How can you be the mum that you want to be when you might be sitting on the floor playing with a Lego or wiping up the spaghetti, but you are not. You might be tickling their tummies and blowing raspberries, but
you're not there, really.
You're not there. And I think that's a huge part of why I struggle still now with my parenting, with my lack of consistency, with finding it hard to be. I remember you saying to me years ago, letting them run rings around me, really, because for so long I've felt so unpresent, so not present with them. And that's because I've lived with this is how, I'm not going to say I was mad, but this is how crazy it was. I would sit in the chemo ward, second time around, with Dave, and I would be convinced, I would watch the nurses at their station, meters or whatever, halfway down the room, the chemo ward, and it's like paranoia. I mean, it's probably all linked to post-traumatic stress, but I would be convinced that they weren't telling me the truth. They'd walk past me and think, they're whispering about me. I mean, it sounds totally sort of delusional, but I would be convinced that my cancer was worse. I was convinced that my cancer was worse than it was, but they weren't telling me because they knew what a kind of emotional wreck I was, and they were protecting me. So therefore, I used to think, well, it's in my lungs. I mean, it is in my lungs, but they haven't told me. They're just protecting me. Everyone would say, Em, they can't do that. Of course you would know. And instead of just saying, look, can we just have this conversation? Can you just tell me exactly and do you know what? It was only when I transferred to the Marsden and because my care changed and I moved to the Marsden 3 years ago. And it was only then that a new oncologist said, the disease that came back was very small. it came back. It was a very small amount of disease. And I remember bursting into tears with the weight of pain that I carried, thinking that it was so much worse, than the recurrence was so much worse than it actually was. And imagine if I'd asked that, or if I'd been told that at the time.
Relief that you could have had, that you could have given yourself.
And I denied myself that relief for so many years. Yes. And that is something that is part of me. And I'm a great one. I talk about relief. I listen to recordings of wonderful, I know how important it is to look for that feeling of relief when we're struggling with something. You can't go from depression to joy. You can't go from anger to a feeling of peace, but you can just pivot. You can just choose the next best feeling thought. Something that gives you relief. I was saying it to Dave this morning, just okay, you're struggling with this, but what would just give you a little feeling of relief? And fine, want to talk, and I'm getting there, but it's something that it just defeated me. I just couldn't. I chose to live in a state of permanent sort of torture rather than ask the scary questions. And that's not, do you know what? And I have to own this, that was very hard for my new partner. That's very hard for the people who love me the most, who I wouldn't let come to the hospital appointments with me. I wouldn't let sit with the oncologist. I kept them away. I kept them out. And still now I'd say, well, I don't want you asking them that question. You can come in with me, but you're not. What questions? I mean, how controlling, That's not fair, really. I sound like a nightmare, don't I?
No, you don't sound like a nightmare. You sound like a brilliant human being, darling. That's what you sound like.
I think it's the fear, and that's my challenge. That's what and that's my challenge.
If you saw Jake doing this to himself, what would you say to him?
Oh, it would break my heart. I would want to scoop him up, and I would want to scoop him up and hold him close. Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? I would just want to scoop him up and hold him close and tell him that he was safe and loved. And
yeah, exactly. So this protectiveness, protecting yourself from protecting, basically, there's a protective mechanism that's going on.
That I thought served me and absolutely.
It's dysfunctional as fuck.
Yeah, let's just put it out there. It completely is, and I know that. And over the last couple of years, where I've had this, I do feel like I'm proud of the road I've travelled on in the last couple of years, having reached absolute rock bottom on our honeymoon, absolute rock bottom.
Yeah,
which I won't go into all the detail now. We haven't got the time, but an absolute kind of. It was almost like someone admitting that they need, help with addiction. It was like this. I can no longer function in this way. Me sitting on our beautiful honeymoon with my head in my hands because I'd had a no-caller ID the day before we flew to Tenerife, and I was too scared to kind of ring to. And for the whole holiday, I was convinced that I was about to get some bad news. Yes. I mean, it sounds ludicrous, but it was absolute turning point.
It doesn't sound ludicrous.
This can no longer go on, and it did change. And I'm proud of how hard I've worked on that, But it's a daily thing for me. It's a daily area that I have to really keep an eye on.
So bring us up to speed.
Oh gosh. So let's get to the 4-year point again. Let's get to the point again where life feels great. And
what were you just about to do before what you're going to talk about? Because I know there's something here.
So what I was about to do was step into 2019 and make it even more of a magical year than 2018 has been. 2018 was personally, and I can't talk for my lovely husband who went through things, but for me, sort of selfishly, it was the best year of my life. I felt strong and incredible and powerful, and I wrote my book, and I'm proud of my book, and my book came out, and I spoke to amazing women like you, and I said yes to things, and I felt brave, and I felt so full of potential.
Yes.
There was no ceiling. That is how I felt. And
yes.
I felt passionate about that, and I still feel passionate about that. And I was into my 4th year of, I'd done it again. I was responding, because I haven't mentioned that from the second diagnosis, I remained on treatment. So for the last 4 years, I've carried on with wonderful drug Herceptin, every 3 weeks in the chemo ward, but it's not chemo, and it kept me well and in remission. And then I went for my routine 3-month appointment at the Marsden on January the 12th, 13th, and antennae, Annie antennae. So the lovely oncologist walks in, and I could see she's holding a blood form. And I'd had my bloods done the week before, and I said, panic immediately. And she said, no, we just need to repeat your markers have gone up a little bit, your tumour markers. And that was the beginning of it. My markers had been creeping up, and I found out 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, that I have new tumours in my left breast, quite a lot of tumours, and this pesky lung situation. So there is still something on my lung. And we're back in that situation where it could be, I'm holding on to the hope. There's a chance that it might not be cancerous. There's some kind of activity there, but it's the same as it was 4 years ago. This is the confusing bit. So 4 years ago, they dismissed it, and there it is again. And it's showing some activity, but it hasn't really changed. So actually, ironically, because that was always one of my biggest things, secondary lung cancer, but actually they're kind of not worrying about that too much at the moment. But the bottom line is, my left breast is pretty shot to pieces. So I'm embarking tomorrow on the first cycle of treatment, which includes targeted Herceptin with a new targeted chemo. And I will be on that. And then in a few months' time, I'll have a mastectomy, and I will have lung surgery. And that's why I said at the beginning of our chat, I'm today feeling pretty strong. I feel quite disconnected. I feel quite upbeat. Yesterday, I don't know how this chat would have gone. I felt very vulnerable, very fragile, very weepy, very low, very fearful, understandably. So, and I think the weird thing at the moment, and again, like last time, I feel so bloody well, and life is so bloody good, and I'm angry and I'm fucked off.
Yes.
That here I am again, and today I feel well, but as of tomorrow, I remember, my oncologist said years ago, it's not the cancer making you feel unwell, it's the treatment. So I might, and I know this cancer is meant to be much easier tolerated in an easier way, but I might be feeling like a very unwell person in a few days.
Yes. And
then psychologically, when you've got cancer, you feel unwell because you've got cancer. Forget the fact that whether it's the treatment. And I don't want I'm going to rise above it. I'm going to deal with it, but I'm angry that I have to. Is the bottom line. And I'm angry that Dave and my kids have to, and that Jake, who's now 15, has to walk in from school, as he did 2 weeks ago, unexpectedly early, and see me crying in the kitchen with my dad, who's 84, and he was crying in the kitchen. And, I feel angry, and I feel angry. And this, I know anger also gives you strength, and I know that, and I'd rather feel angry than depressed.
Yes.
But,
anger's got courage in it.
Yeah, hasn't it? And anger's a map. It shows you where you want to go and what you don't want. And,
anger has force and action in it.
And you know what? I can't not talk to you without telling you the most magical moment that I had with Jake on the day that just after he walked in. So this was, 2 weeks ago, all the results were in. And he's 15, he's a boy, he doesn't express a lot of emotion, but he just went white. He knew I'd been having tests, and he looked stricken, and he just went very, very white, very, very quiet. And he sat on the sofa, and, everyone else was like, I was weeping. Dave was there, my dad and my dad's partner, lots of talking. And I just said to Jake, right, come on, let's go for a walk with Lola, our little gorgeous chihuahua. And we went onto the common, and we walked, and I talked to him like an adult. I was weepy, but strong, and then weepy again, then strong again, and kind of brought him a hot chocolate. And he was very quiet and sad, but he stepped up in that moment as well. He reassured me, and then, he wavered as well between shattered vulnerability and kind of, come on, Mum, you're going to be okay. And then we walked back in silence towards, through the common towards the gate. And he said to me, Mum, you've just got to live like it's not there. And it winded me. Yeah. I stopped in my tracks. I almost kind of exhaled, and I felt like the universe had spoken through him. And it took my breath away, and I just said, Jake, thank you. It felt like the biggest gift that anybody could have said. And that is my mantra. And I am going to, as much as I can, I'm going to live like it's not there. And there's no better kind of approach to have, in a way, without being in denial. It's not about me going back to, because I do know everything this minute. And, last week I went to my oncologist made me say, come on, we're going to look through your PET scan. I was like, I don't want to look through it. And you're on the high tech on the computer screen, and you're seeing all the images. It's fascinating. And actually, I'm glad, because he said, look, you know what? We're not going to look at, we can see where it is. We can see that those images in your left breast. Let's look at where it isn't.
Yes.
Look at your spine. Look at your liver. Look at your hips. Look at your pelvis. Look at your, lymph. Look at your liver, your other liver, and there's that tiny. And again, and I feel empowered by that. And I feel that maybe right now, this minute, maybe I have made that change, and maybe the fingers have come out of the ears and the head is out of the sand, and maybe from now on, I'd like to think that I will be brave enough to open the letters and ask the scary questions.
Yes, yeah.
I really hope, but maybe you would agree, maybe this is what needed to happen. I'd like to think maybe I will be lucky. Maybe this will be the third and the final time. And of course, that's not how I was feeling yesterday, and I might not be feeling like that tomorrow when I'm sitting in the chemo ward having this new drug.
Yeah.
And
that's okay.
That's okay as well. And I guess, yeah.
That's perfect too.
Well, and I am, without sounding too annoying, I'm trying to see that there are gifts, there are gifts in this somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
And that maybe this is part of it can sound so annoying, and I can imagine if someone's listening with a much bleaker prognosis, it could be quite a sort of annoying thing to hear. I don't know. And I'm fluctuating all over the place.
So tell us the annoying thing.
I think that maybe, I guess that kind of cancer is tough. Cancer is shit. And it's bleak and it's dark and it's got unhappy endings. So I don't want to sound too trite and like a Clinton's card and, it's a gift, it's a journey, and I'm going to skip into my future. And it's not like, again, like it's not a movie. It's not a movie necessarily with a happy ending. And I don't know what my ending is going to be, but I just I can't resist this too much. I have to kind of step into it.
Yeah, I really love the way you talk about empowering yourself this time. Really empowering yourself. And I have an urge to tell you that I really see that you're on the brink of being able to be an expert on yourself. Like this is a really remarkable moment for you as you step into this tomorrow to actually engross in the actual beauty of yourself, the treasure that you are.
I hope so. Thank you. I hope so. I'm going to take that. And you know what as well? I feel, having just talked about how cross and angry I feel, and that I feel so determined. My intention for this year was just to carry on with that amazing momentum of feeling this potential, and that I can actually break through my own limitations and be brave and strong and be the best writer and write another book and speak and just connect and the previous 2 diagnoses. Of course, I haven't. I've gone into survival mode, and it's not been about writing or stepping out. It's been very much about kind of hiding away and just getting through. And this time, and I'm sure a lot of that's to do with I have become more vocal and I do speak out about my feelings a lot, but I'm not going to let 2019, I'm not going to let this shape 2019, I think is what I feel.
Yeah, we want your voice, we want your visibility, we want you out, no hiding. We want you out and exactly as you are.
And I need to just keep my mind on those fearful days. I need to really remember this minute how I feel knowing every single thing about my diagnosis.
Yes.
And what a relief that is. And that if my phone rings in 5 minutes with a no caller ID, I don't have to be scared of that, because there's nothing I'm waiting to hear. And that doesn't mean in 3 months when I have another scan, I won't be feeling, of course, I'm going to experience anxiety and fear. But this minute, I'm really trying to appreciate the fact that as far as my, I can't guarantee there aren't going to be any other shocks in life, unexpected things that come our way. But in terms of my diagnosis and my health right now, I don't need to be afraid right now. And it's building on that today, I guess.
Totally. Thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you for sharing so beautifully, like just bearing your soul on this. And it's such a privilege to actually be in conversation with you. Thank you.
Me too. And I listen to your podcast, and every woman you've spoken to, it's just so fantastic to hear the stories and the truth and the wisdom. And thank you for creating this forum for us. Thank you.
Big scooping up of love.
Thank you.
I know I can speak for every listener in sending Em oodles of love and strength as she makes her way through targeted chemo. I'm a little breathless. It was just a really moving episode with Em. We wish you, Em, all the love in the world. We really do. And Jake, her beloved eldest boy, had it right when he told her to live like it's not there. Only this time without denial tricks that trip her up. Thanks so much, Em, for sharing vulnerably today. We are all cheering right behind you. And next week, I'm joined by Helen Packham, who's quite the woman in an episode called Star. I'm hoping to chat with Helen about her path to standing out, being recognised as an expert and winning at business. Helen has this amazing TEDx talk, so I'm really looking forward to speaking with her. Thanks for joining us again, by the way. See you next week. Till then, take ever so good care of yourself. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the School for Mothers podcast. To continue the conversation and keep your dose of inspiration up, head over to schoolformothers.com/podcast, where you'll find bonus content from Danusha and her guests on habits, recommendations, books, best apps, time-saving secrets, life hacks, health, sleep and anything in between. That's schoolformothers.com/podcast.